Good morning to everybody who came to the conference. Hello and welcome to the INSS annual conference. My name is Gili Cohen. I'm the political correspondent of Kan, the Israeli Broadcast Authority, and I'm the moderator of this day. It's going to be a very busy day. There's a demonstration, a protest outside. I know that many of the guests have a difficult time coming here because of that, but this conference, the INSS, this is the 16th INSS conference, and it brings together this year as well decision makers, senior officials, and officials from the security established from the present and from the past, from Israel and from all over the world. This is a very good time to shed a spotlight on everything that's happening, the pace of events, the legislation, the events. It's sometimes all happening so quickly. It's dizzying for us and for everybody else. And this conference gives us, all of us, an opportunity to talk, discuss, voice, and be heard, even in such times where it seems that public attention for in depth discussion is diminishing. We are here to broaden the perspective, ask questions, and talk. Professor Manuel Trajtenberg, the director of the INSS, will open the morning. Professor Trajtenberg, the floor is yours. Hello. Boker Tov. Hello, good morning to those of you who did manage to make it here. Good morning to those who are still on their way. So many people are still on their way and can find it difficult to be here. And this is definitely a reflection of the situation. We understand that, and we hope that over the next hours, this hall will fill up and we will overcome all the obstacles. So, members of the board of the INSS, the diplomatic corps, the friends of the INSS, researchers, dear guests, and viewers, welcome to this conference. Yesterday we had the opening event, the opening evening of the event at the INSS building itself, and I truly regret the fact that we couldn't invite all of you to the opening evening because it was held in the Institute, which is not that far from here, and the capacity there is quite limited. But today you are all here with us, and we are truly happy for that. This is the 16th conference. This is the 16th year in which this conference is held. And this has become a valued tradition, a stage for an open and serious discussion on the challenges of Israel's national security. But this time, the circumstances are different, and therefore, this conference could not focus only on the security issues that have been with us for quite some time: Iran, the Palestinians, the Northern Front. Not that their severity has diminished, but this time, for the first time, the internal strife, the rift within Israeli society is also becoming a first and foremost threat on Israel's national security. This must also, of course, be manifest here in our conference, whether we want it or not. Today was declared to be National Disruption Day. As we can see, this has an effect in our ability to hold this conference as planned. Is disrupted, and we accept that with understanding. And I also dare guess that quite a few of the people here also accept it with love. But in recent days, we have encountered other kinds of difficulties that are a cause of greater concern. I'm taking the liberty to share with you that all the senior officials have agreed in advance to participate in the conference today. Senior officials and ministers have all canceled their participation, their attendance at the very last minute. As you can guess, these cancellations are not exactly random and reflect a phenomena which causes us great concern. I think it's regretful, and it's a reflection of the severity of the situation we have currently found ourselves in. The opening evening yesterday focused on the internal domestic crisis. We heard some very fierce comments from the former Attorney General Avichai Mendelblit, who quoted, among other things, he quoted from what Menachem Begin said 70 years ago. And when he sat there, he could think that these were things that were said now. He quoted Menachem Begin and his comments about the supremacy of law and justice, and he also refuted Avichai Mandelblit in a very clear and academic manner all the arguments about the fact that this reform being promoted today is merely trying to bring us to a similar situation or level of other countries such as Canada. And we heard from the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Dorit Beinish, about the tremendous contribution of the High Court of Justice to the security and how they defended and how the legal system defended our soldiers and officers. Today, we're going to focus on the extremely important security issues. And in order to give some kind of a framing, let me tell you a bit about the INSS National Situation Estimate, which we submitted to the President of the State of Israel, Yitzhak Buzi Herzog, only a month ago. This estimate focuses on 5 main challenges on Israel's national security. The first one is widespread geopolitical shocks and which have an effect on the global arena. And in the upcoming panel, the first panel, we'll hear about that. And of course, the escalating conflict between the US and China and the situation in the Ukraine. And these changes definitely narrow Israel's leeway and force us to choose sides, and this, of course, is not necessarily the best interest of Israel's national security, choosing sides. Another threat is the fact that Iran, in practice, is becoming a nuclear threshold country, and as such, could pose a real existential threat over Israel for the first time since the 73 war. Number 3, ever widening rifts and cracks with our relationship with the U.S., which is such an important tenet, a critical tenet of Israel's national security. Yesterday, we heard the ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, our friend Tom Nides, who talked about these things, and he emphasized that these special relations are based not only or not mainly on interests, but rather on shared values. And if there's any harm caused to the base of values, then who knows what will happen to the special relations with the US, with all the implications that has on our ability to deal with the other threats. And the fourth challenge in the quick escalation in Judea and Samaria, of course, this is something we experience on a daily basis. The reasons are well known. I don't need to list them. The end of the Abu Mazen era, no political diplomatic reason. The settlement endeavor continues to expand and broaden, and we are finding ourselves gradually in a reality of one state, and all these ignite a serious wave of terror attacks and increase the potential for a wide-scale violent conflict. And finally, the fifth challenge, and we've already talked about that, the internal crisis following the advancement of the legal reform, which is becoming an actual threat on Israel's national security. Yesterday, Damir Haiman, the INSS director, interviewed the former head of the NSC, Eyal Hulata, and former chief of general staff, Gabi Ashkenazi, exactly on this point and its significance. the impact of this legislation being promoted and how it threatens our national security and social cohesion. And I suggest that if you have an opportunity, you listen to or watch the video of this interview. But because without social cohesion, without a real identification with the collective, without a broad consensus over the rules of the game, I highly doubt whether the society in Israel will be willing to shoulder the burden and show up when they are needed. We can already see expressions are that which are a source of great concern. And we've just heard that a father and son, both of them officers in reserve duty, have given back their ranks to the IDF as an act of protest regarding what's happening. These two individuals are truly the salt of the earth. So, we are talking about five main challenges that will be discussed here today. But it's also important to mention that the greatest threats can always be found in the multiplicity of fronts, a combination of several threats. And I would like to reiterate that I highly doubt if we can simultaneously successfully take on all the challenges, the situation in Judea, Samaria, Iran, the ever widening cracks in our relations with the US, as long as this train of a regime revolution is pushing Israel towards the abyss as long as sectorialism overpowers national unity. I'd like to express our condolences to the families of those who have been murdered in recent days. Of course, we cannot begin this event without mentioning that it pains each and every one of us, but we would also like to express our shock at how appalled we are at what happened afterwards. So we have a lot of work cut out for us, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to take any further time. And let me just say that our responsibility is for this domestic crisis will come to an end following a broad consensus, broad agreement across the board of the Israeli society. And it's possible. It's our responsibility, all of us. And without that, we won't be able to contend with all these major challenges that will be discussed here throughout the day. I wish all of us a very interesting day. May we learn from this, and hopefully we will come out with a certain level of optimism. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, I can't hear the speaker. I think he's speaking from the audience. Thank you. I think he says to one of the individuals, "What are you going to tell your son?" Thank you. Thank you. Before we begin this day, which is going to be a very busy and packed one, so before we begin this day, we'd like to say that this conference is being broadcast at I-24, at the digital, on TV, as well as on the website of the INSS and its social media platforms. And now let's move